All right, guys, I'm Nicolette, and today Brian and I are here with Rick Perez. He is the CEO and founder of Avangard Innovative, and he's here to discuss today with us how him and the company are helping other companies monetize their recycling and waste management processes. So we are going to talk a little bit about some technology too. There's some AI and predictive analytics going on in this conversation, but we are going to talk about sustainability today. So thank you so much, Rick, for joining us. We are excited to dive in. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about sustainability and how to make this world a little more green.
That's right. So why don't you kick us off a little bit and tell us a little bit about you and the company?
Well, a little bit about me. I started the company 30 years ago with a dream of faxing a phone at my parents' house with $1,000. So, just passionate about the environment and wanted to see how recycling really hadn't started. Now Avangard Innovative is the largest recycler in America. We're in 9 countries, and we focus on really helping companies with their ESG score, utilizing technology that we could talk about a little bit better, and then actually conforming and making plastic back into a product after end of life that goes right back to the shelf. So we call it an environmental additive. So repurposing plastic and putting it right back into a product.
Okay, so what is an ESG score? Let's start with that.
So ESG is really the new matrix that every public company is getting. Now what happens, ESG used to be done that companies would say that they're going to do something for environmentally, socially, and responsibility for and governance. And what happens is you could say it, but you didn't really, 4 years later, 5 years later, the company or new CEO comes in, you weren't accountable for that. ESG is all about accountability now. You have to, what you say you're going to do as a company and be responsible for that from an environmental standpoint, governance standpoint, social responsibility standpoint, that there you're getting measured and making sure that you deliver on your brand promise.
So what exactly is then, and I think that this dives into kind of the concept of a circular economy. I think we're going there. So what is a circular economy then, and how does that fit into what you're doing?
Well, absolutely. So think about circular economy. The way it always started is called linear economy, what we've been living for forever, right? You make a product, you use it, and you end of life, you throw it away, and then you create a new product, do the same thing over and over. So what circular economy is, how do you use the least amount of resource to create a product? How does it last the longest it could possibly last? And when it gets to the part of end of life, that's what we take over. And it's how do you really no more go into a landfill? Is how do you take that back, repurpose it, and bringing it right back to a product that can continue to circle over and over again? That's circular economy. And that's really where we have to get to. If you're going to be in business here in the future as a company in anything, you're going to have to think that way. Circularity is the way to think now.
So if companies don't have a sustainability initiative, what really happens to all the waste, the discarded products, materials? What happens to all of that?
Well, as you know, the biggest problem we have is you're filling up landfills with raw material, which is really recyclables. People have a tendency to put waste and recycling in the same bucket, and they're completely different, right? Recyclables means exactly that. It can be recycled. That means it's a value-added product that can get back into another product, go back into the shelf. And so, you have contamination going to rivers, oceans. We hear a lot of plastic in the ocean. You hear about your carbon that's generating because we're not doing the right things. And that's really, when you don't have a plan, there is no plan, correct? And that's really what ESG is creating, is creating a plan for big organizations and small and medium now to follow a plan and then execute on a plan.
So so you mentioned the difference between recyclables and waste, right? Do companies have to have a clear definition when they're developing things, even what is going to be recyclable in their products and what is going to be waste?
That's a great question. If you think about it now, is before you create a product, you have to start thinking about what is the end of life of this product and how is it going to affect the environment? How is it going to affect the carbon footprint? And is there any way we can make it lighter, thinner, with the end of life that we can bring it right back to the same product? And the answer is you can. A lot of people think plastics are really bad. The reality, from a cost of versatility and the ability to end of life capture it, put it right back to another product, it can easily be done. The only thing that never used to happen was resin producers, converters, brand owners, and recyclers like us never talked. So what happened is everybody had their own little silo way of looking at things, and now we all talk together to create that circular economy, to make sure that we all play our part in making a product recyclable, reusable, and goes back to a product that is less carbon footprint and less damage to our environment.
So you guys are working on proprietary technology, correct? And
Correct.
It's correct me if I'm wrong. It's hardware and software that's now helping companies do this, correct? And you're going to need to clarify exactly what the technology is, because that's about the extent of what I understand.
Well, good. You know more than I do. No, I'm kidding. So let's think about this. So when we go back to the ESG, it's about reporting. So how do you keep companies accountable? And if you're a company that's doing the right thing for the environment, how are you going to tell your stakeholders exactly what you're actually doing? So one of the key things that we looked at is data. So we created a technology called Sustayn. And what Sustayn does, it uses artificial intelligence to auto-detect recyclables going into the waste stream. So in compactors, on a baler, on a forklift. And what it does is, think about your iPhone technology that identifies and says, is this you, is this your friend, or so on.
Right.
We're basically using the same artificial intelligence, but we are detecting recyclables.
Right.
So what are we doing? Two things. No, go ahead.
Are you doing it? Is it be done from a visual perspective? Like it knows it's, a plastic bottle, or it knows it's a car, right? So it knows, okay, this needs to be recycled with the metals.
Absolutely. And so you got to integrate first with the technology. That's where we start with that. And then we have obviously our data scientists and optimization team looking at this on a daily basis. And we're just taking that action. So we're driving two things: behavior change. One, it takes about 9 months to change behavior. Two, we're identifying opportunities not only for companies to make more money, because if you think about recyclables having value, we pay for that. We pay for cardboard, we pay for plastic, we pay for anything that could be recycled. And the other thing is, you're saving money and you're saving land, space in landfills. So you're saving money. So it's a easy way to it's a no-brainer if you think about it. You're saving money, you're doing the right thing for the environment, and you're making more money. And the only way to do that in a large scale is by using artificial intelligence, machine learning, to do that for us. Because in our network, we have over 20,000 locations that we manage. So it's impossible to do a physical audit by people. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way to scale this opportunity, is by utilizing technology.
So can you give us an example of like a real world use case?
Yeah, absolutely. So, take Home Depot, take Grainger's, take Amazon's, companies like that realize they want to do the right thing for the environment. And what they are doing is they realize that our technology is not only helping them do the right thing in the ESG side of things, but it's also making them money. And they're making the drives the behavior of employees and stakeholders, but it also drives the behavior of capital markets. Mm-hmm. Because if you're doing the right thing, that means that the capital markets are saying, look, you're a company we want to invest in. Mm-hmm. So it really has a lot more than just purely the environmental play. It's the ability to grow and scale your actual business by doing the right thing.
Right. So can we go back to like the machine learning? How is the machine learning and artificial intelligence doing the predictive analytics? Because I know you mentioned that with the waste and the recycling streams.
Yes. Well, I'll give you the simple version. So my partner, Walker Chan, was the lead engineer that created the first 3D printer in the world. So he could probably answer that a whole lot better than me. But if the way you think about it, we make sure that as an object passes through the stream, as you throw garbage, in this case we call it garbage if it's going into a dumpster, that identifies any opportunity of products that we are looking for. So we're only identifying things that we are looking for. And that is what's creating, it generates an image that goes to our cloud system. It takes it to our data analytics team. And then we get the machine learn to get smarter and smarter, making sure it's identifying the correct product, right? And we're already, right now, our machine is over 95% efficient on the detections of recyclables. And so it's pure, as you know, it's about repetition. Machine learning is about identifying the right product, shape, sizes, different components of it that I'm not extremely technical on, but I know it works extremely well. And what that does is gives reports out in real time analytics to be able to create change. Now, we're not asking anybody to go in there and pull that plastic right there in that second. We're just saying, look, at this shift, at this time, there was a generation, and here's what's happening on a monthly basis in this location at this different shifts. And so we're creating that culture. We go back in with signage, we train people, the staff, and that's where you really start getting those lifts. And we've had a huge success on lowering their waste, that what's recyclable is going into the waste streams, and also increasing their recyclables, which again, it goes back to money. It's not philanthropy, right? I mean, it has to be real, factual, profitable environmental initiatives, and this is.
So then how does this become the future? I mean, if we're talking about, I mean, you mentioned something like 20,000 locations, right? I mean, how does this expand? How does this, what's the vision for short term and long term?
Well, yeah, great question. Well, short term is the adoption rate of more companies understanding what a technology like ours, which, Sustayn is the future today. And the key is for us is how to continue to deploy as much technology out there. Again, it's companies that really are focusing and creating, and they realize that is the future, doing the right thing by the environment and getting monetized for that, and also the capital market. So the short term is we're deploying our technology. We want to make it quicker, faster, and stronger. As always, technology keeps evolving. We're doing several new projects with our technology. We can identify pretty much anything we want to identify. So that's going to help a lot tremendously with compliance and legislation, because we know that there's a lot of issues going in that area. Mm-hmm. So we could, you can continue to develop that side of the business. And for us, again, it's three prongs, right? So it's the technology, it's the administrating of the sites, which is what we do is our program called Natura. And then you have our PCR, post-consumer recycling, which is our manufacturing. So we're a company that's completely integrated and not just giving you technology. Here's where we're going to take the products and we're going to actually make a product that goes right back in. So our strategic partner is Dow Chemical from the resin side. We also did a huge program with ITW, High Cone, which is for six-pack. In the rain today is actually National Recycling Day, so please recycle. And if you look at your six-pack rings now, there's a way to put it into go online to ringrecycleme.com. You print it, you put your carrier rings, it goes to our plant, and we make carrier rings out of it again. And that's what we talk about circular economy, right? So all your cleaner bags, all the stretch film, all the water, all the storefront material that's coming in. So that's what we're doing.
So you also, sorry. Go ahead. Well, you mentioned resin. So I just had a question. Currently there are some supply chain issues, and we know resin falls into some of those challenges. Are you experiencing any challenges in that realm? And if so, how are you navigating that?
Well, supply chain issues through we're not a resin producer. We're a post-consumer recycling. So we call it an environmental additive, right? So we are 75% less carbon footprint than prime resin. So what happens is in ours is really, it's more, post-consumer materials that are regional, local, nationally. So we're not going and bringing products from China or India or any other country. So we're not having that effect. Now, we're having the effect of everybody else, the supply chain of trucking and the cost of commodities and all that.
Okay.
So I have a question. You also mentioned or maybe you hinted, or maybe I just read into it, but some of the laws that may be changing, right? As more laws come into play around recycling. Is there anything that's coming up that should really push people to start doing this more now, than just being like a good global citizen, right? Is there any laws that are coming that people need to be aware of, or anything down the road?
Well, there's definitely legislation now. If you look at California, Oregon, and some other states that are pushing that they're mandating recycled content in products. So, like, think about returnable bags for grocery stores. Mm-hmm. They already have to have a 40% recycled content in that. So, what's meaning is that you will see several states be pushing this. From a federal legislation, there's a lot of pressure on brand owners, resin producers to do the right thing, which the good news is they are doing it. And so they're working like companies like Avangard Innovative to do this stuff, right? So they realize that they have to clean up a little bit of their own mess, and they're doing it. So doing the right packaging, making sure. It also has to take the consumer. The consumer has to understand that to use recycled content, you want to be able to, one, demand for it, right, and two, don't expect it to be exactly perfect every time, right? I mean, when you have impurities, obviously prime, and if you think about a virgin product, it's going to be a little bit nicer than when you have recycled content in it. So, but the imperfections, I think, is what makes it perfect, right? It becomes the brown napkin. Now it's very acceptable. It used to be white. Why? Nobody wanted those contaminants use it. Now, if it's a brown napkin, it came from recycled content. So I think if, as a consumer, you demand for recycled content, you will get it. It's just a matter of accepting that that's our new norm, and that's what we should be doing, the right thing.
Brian, do you have any other questions for Rick?
I don't think so. I guess the only thing is, tell us where we could learn more about.
We'd love for you guys to visit our website. Is obviously it's avangard.com, Avangard Innovative. We would love to educate and help, and obviously recycle. For us, is truly a passion, what we do. Everybody that comes works for our company, we call them innovators, and they come in with a purpose to help us really clean up the environment and do the right thing. And so it's just a fun place to work. Hopefully our staff thinks, I hope. And we truly enjoy what we've been doing it for 30 years. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for joining us today, Rick.
And go recycle.
Yes, go recycle,
and
people.
Recycle, please.
Yes, and don't complain about your brown napkins.
That's right.
That's right.
Can I complain about my paper straws, though? Because I really don't like the paper straws.
You got to bring the metal ones.
Gosh, they really.
Or you could do the plastic and recycle them. And
there you go. I can do that. I can get with that. I can get behind that. I can't get behind my straw disintegrating in my drink after 5 minutes. I hate that.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's like ever since paper. Yeah, it's ever since paper straws. People just like drink their drink before they eat their meal. It's like, I'm done. And then I won't drink anything else.
Yeah, that doesn't really work too well. We all understand that. So there you go. You answered the question. We just have to do the right thing by it and put it in the right place.
All right, recycle your straw.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick.
All right. Pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.